Heavy machinery ripped through my backyard while I was away tending to my ailing daughter. In my absence, the Oakwood Homeowners Association, HOA, had constructed a train track straight through the heart of my family's three-generation farm without my consent, obliterating my finest crops. But what I uncovered next would flip their world upside down. Their sleek headquarters was, unbelievably, built on land I owned. 5 years ago, I inherited my grandfather's 50-acre farm after his passing. Located on the fringes of what was once rural county land, it's been gradually swallowed by suburban sprawl. The Oakwood community, with its cookie-cutter mansions and pristine lawns, sprang up around us over the past decade, replacing fields of corn with symbols of affluence. When the HOA formed, they relentlessly pressured me to join, arguing that my eyesore of a farm dragged down their property values. I refused every time. This land, working soil since 1943, is my family's legacy, more valuable to me than any payout. My grandfather, a World War II veteran, built the weathered gray barn with his own hands after returning from the war. He taught me the art of farming, and his memory fuels my resolve. Trouble began with petty grievances, complaints about my tractor's morning rumble, citations for my sprawling vegetable patch allegedly breaching some county rule, demands to repaint the barn a tasteful shade instead of its classic gray. I ignored them all. I wasn't under their jurisdiction. Then Vanessa Harper took over as HOA president. A sharp, late-30s executive with a penchant for crisp blazers, she viewed my farm as a blight on her suburban utopia. During her campaign, she vowed to fix the farm issue, enlisting her deputy, Leonard Grayson, a retired corporate attorney in his 60s, to handle the dirty work. Grayson would drop by with friendly hints about how much developers would pay for my land, leaving glossy retirement home pamphlets and suggesting a man my age shouldn't toil so hard. But this farm is my heritage, my life, not a bargaining chip. No amount of coercion would sway me. Last fall, I left for 3 weeks to care for my daughter post-surgery. Before departing, I noticed surveying gear near my property line, but dismissed it as routine HOA landscaping. That was a mistake. I returned to a train track slicing through my eastern field, linking the HOA's clubhouse to their new legacy pavilion on the far side of my land. They'd built a tourist train to shuttle residents and guests between the sites, right across my property. The tracks gouged my richest soil, where I grew sweet corn for the farmer's market, wiping out nearly an acre of crops. They even added ornamental lights, benches, and signs touting Oakwood's agricultural heritage, a bitter irony given they'd gutted my livelihood. Confronting Harper at the HOA office, she flashed a smug grin and waved paperwork claiming a legal easement via an obscure county ordinance. She insisted they'd sent notice, conveniently while I was gone. "The train adds charm," she said, flicking her polished nails. "It'll boost property values by 15%. You should thank us." When I mentioned my ruined crops, Grayson piped up from the corner, "We'll pay you market value for the corn, maybe a few $100. He slid a check across the table that wouldn't cover my seeds, let alone lost income. I called my lawyer, Tom, who confirmed my hunch. Their permits were fraudulent, based on doctored maps rushed through during my absence. Undoing it legally, though, could take months or years of costly battles. "They're banking on you lacking the means to fight," Tom warned. It's a classic move by aggressive HOAs. That night, I stood on my porch, watching their garish red and blue train make its debut run through my field, a gleaming violation in the sunset. How many more fights would I endure to protect what's mine? There had to be a better way. I turned to my grandfather's old records, stored in rusty filing cabinets in the barn. A meticulous man, he'd kept detailed accounts of our land, having faced developers himself in the 70s. Rifling through yellowed deeds and 1940s survey maps, I found a folder labeled Northeast Corner Dispute 1972. Inside was a surveyor's map with his handwritten notes. Under the dim glow of his old desk lamp, I uncovered a bombshell. The quarter-acre where the HOA's headquarters sat wasn't part of their development tract. Due to a decades-old surveying error, it belonged to our farm. Grandpa had noted the mismatch when development began but never acted, as it was just woods back then. The original deeds proved it. When he granted a waterline easement in 1972, the surveyor misdrew our boundary, and subsequent developments relied on that error. I called Tom the next morning, sending him scans of my find. After 3 days of cross-checking county records, he called back, thrilled. "Your grandfather's documents hold up," he said. "That parcel's still legally yours. They built their office there in 2018 without a proper title search back to the farm's boundaries." I was stunned. "So I own their headquarters?" "Yes," he confirmed. "We'll need a corrected survey filed with the county to make it official, but it's airtight." An idea sparked, one that could end this war or blow it wide open. "Let's keep it quiet for now," I told Tom. "I need to plan this right." Sleepless that night, I pondered what Grandpa would do. He valued justice and community, traits the HOA ignored. By dawn, I had a plan, a gamble, but one worth taking. It could fix my train problem and maybe even build something positive from this mess. The next day, inspecting my ruined field, Harper approached in her tailored charcoal suit, Grayson trailing behind. The train cars loomed behind them like a gaudy scar. "Mr. Carter," she snapped, her heels sinking into my soil. "We need a 20-foot buffer zone around the tracks. Your crops are too close to our attraction." I stood firm in my grandfather's faded work jacket, a stark contrast to her polish. "This is my land," I said, jaw tight. "You had no right to build here." Grayson smirked. "We've got permits. The train's happening, like it or not." "Those permits are fake," I shot back. "My lawyers confirmed it." Harper's smile flickered, then hardened. "Prove it, farmer. Sue us. We can drag this out for years." "Can you?" She waved at the train. "This is progress, Carter. Oakwood's becoming elite. Your little farm's holding us back." Grayson chuckled. "Sell while you can, before we get creative with the rest of your land." As they left, Harper tossed over her shoulder. 6 trains daily start next week. Move those crops and quiet that tractor. Residents are complaining." I snapped a photo of them trespassing, evidence for later. "Enjoy your win," I muttered, my plan solidifying. Tom and I quietly filed to correct the title, expediting it with extra fees. Meanwhile, I visited Heroes Haven, a veterans charity I'd long supported, honoring Grandpa's passion for his fellow vets. I met their director, Lisa Torres, privately. "If I donated a building, could you use it?" I asked, recounting the HOA saga. Her eyes lit up. "We've been desperate for a new space. Rents are insane downtown." "It's not about money," I said. "I want to honor Grandpa and help the real community." Next, I enlisted my locksmith buddy, Mike, for a quick job once the paperwork cleared. I also studied the HOA's bylaws, spotting a gem. All official business must occur at their registered headquarters, with alternate sites allowed only for 14-day emergencies. Each night, I watched the train from my porch, channeling my fury into resolve. I ordered a custom banner and tipped off a local reporter for the big reveal. When Tom confirmed the title was mine, I set the plan for Saturday, during the HOA's monthly inspections. At 6 a.m., with a sheriff's deputy as witness, Mike swapped the headquarters locks. We posted ownership papers and a donation notice on every door. By 8 a.m., Heroes Haven volunteers arrived, erecting signs, "Future Home of Heroes Haven," with flags and their logo. Neighbors gawked as veterans and charity tees measured the space and shared coffee. At 9 a.m., Harper pulled up, froze, then stormed over when her key failed. "What the hell is this?" she yelled. I handed her the documents. "This land's mine, Vanessa. I'm donating it to a good cause." The deputy nodded. "It's legit, ma'am." Her face paled, then flushed. "This can't be real." Grayson arrived, threatening lawsuits, but the county seal unnerved him. "Try it," I said, "and explain those fake train permits to the county." Neighbors murmured as Harper's tactics unraveled. One, Sarah, asked, "Did you fake the permits, Vanessa?" Harper stammered. "It was for property values." Residents bristled. Dues had spiked for a train they didn't want. A reporter grilled Harper, who muttered no comment. Lisa pitched Heroes Haven's mission to the crowd, winning support. By afternoon, Harper called an emergency meeting at a member's house. Sarah texted me. Chaos reigned, with board resignations and financial scrutiny over Harper's unauthorized train spending. The news ran the story, Farmer versus HOA, with veterans gaining a headquarters. Online, people cheered my stand and blessed the vets. By Sunday, a petition demanded Harper's ouster and an audit. 3 days later, Sarah, now interim president, apologized and offered a deal. They'd remove the train, restore my land, and pay for crops if Heroes Haven leased them a small office space. Lisa saw potential for funding and volunteer ties. I set terms. My farm stays free of HOA rules, a protected heritage zone along our boundary, and matching rent donations to the charity. They agreed. Crews soon dismantled the train, restored my field, and paid fair compensation. Heroes Haven moved in, with the HOA renting a back room. Spring brought a community garden idea from residents, involving veterans. We broke ground in April, with neighbors and vets planting together. My farm thrives again, its harvest partly feeding the veterans' pantry. Grandpa would approve. Harper glares from afar. Now in a condo, Grayson faces bar inquiries. The train became a museum exhibit, ironically teaching kids about farming. The HOA's new board prioritizes transparency and community, even asking me to advise them. I agreed, insisting on Grandma's cookies at meetings. Some traditions endure. My grandfather's legacy stands firm, not just surviving, but fostering a true community. The fence remains, but the gates swing both ways. Fighting back didn't just save my land. It built something better, a harvest worth every battle.